The last great Coliseum. It's Bristol, Tennessee, also known as Fighter Jets in a Cereal Bowl, Thunder Valley. You can call it what you want. It's Bristol, baby. And here we are for the ERSCA PristineAuction.com series here tonight with the Xfinity machines at the first short track of the season for what's going to be a very hectic, exciting, and probably action-packed and temper-filled race, I'd have to imagine, here tonight, live on Sim TV. It's going to be, as we've been with you guys for the majority of the season so far, Corey Silva and Brandon Kreutz giving you guys here the calls tonight. Brandon, I mean, every time we go to Bristol, we expect action, we expect tempers, we expect frustrations, and hopefully amongst all that, we expect some good racing.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a really, really fast half-mile racetrack, the high banks here at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and these guys going to be flying around here in these 800 horsepower machines. So yeah, hopefully some good racing here. I see a lot of these guys utilizing that high line, and I think we're going to see some classic Bristol racing.
Yeah, I think they're going to be high, wide, and handsome, as I think somebody called it, with how the racing typically goes here at Thunder Valley Bristol Motor Speedway. 0.533 miles around this racetrack. Varied banking. I know I think in the real world it's 24 degrees and about 26 degrees. I think we still have 3 tiers of banking here at iRacing, between 24 and 30 on the top of the racetrack. So naturally, the top of the racetrack has that banking. So that's going to be where the guys are going to want to run. That's where the speed is. That's where the grip is. That bottom is the shorter way around, Brandon. But with that lack there of banking, it's hard to hold that speed, hard to hold that 3,400-pound stock car down there.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And the momentum just wants to carry you up the racetrack. And, of course, a little bit of progressive banking will the fast line is going to be where the banking is. Give these guys as much grip as possible. They're going to utilize the momentum all the way up against that outside wall and try to carry as much speed as they can down off corner exit. That's probably going to be the fastest way around here all night.
And we'll see if that is indeed the case as qualifying is underway right now. And see the fancy new graphics package Kyle has unleashed here tonight. Kyle doing a lot of work here on Sim TV coming up with these graphics, and we do have what looks to be Nick Massey on the front row right now, leading the charge, at least with the pole position, rather. But Brett, another change, again, just recently in this past week to iRacing, we now have a single pit road configuration here at Bristol. As we know, the front stretch and the back stretch, 2 separate pit roads. They have been, indirectly unified as one. In the real world, finally have that emulated here on the service, so it'll be interesting to see. There will be some guys on the back straightaway. How that does work out, pitting on the back stretch and looping all the way around through 3 and 4 to get to the front stretch.
Yeah, everybody's going to be in the same scenario now. You're not going to have the 2 separate pit roads where it could be one possibly has the advantage over the other. So everybody's going to have to go in the same way and come out the same way. So, how it may end up being if we do end up having some green flag stops is going to be really interesting to me. But I guess we're in this together, Corey, because neither one of us really know what to expect with this whole one pit road system as far as the iRacing simulation goes.
Green flag pit stops at Bristol. I mean, let's be real here. It's probably not going to happen, but if it does, as you said, Brandon, it's going to be pitting on. You have to go through the entire sequence rather than just your individual pit lane, just kind of nuances of the simulator world of that we are in right now. But this has just about wrapped up the qualifying server. So now we are going to get these guys packed up onto the grid. So let's go ahead and do that for you right now and give you the Sim TV starting lineup here tonight for the ERSCA PristineAuction.com series. Brandon, it was only a matter of time before I slipped up on that one.
Yeah, you slipped up. I heard.
All right, so on the pole here tonight, as I said, it is actually going to be Damian Leininger. He snuck in there last second. Nick Massey in second. Tate Lytle in third. Adam Pettit rolling off in the 4th position right now. Scott Crump and Vincent Isabella 5th and 6th. The remaining positions will scroll by on the bottom of your display. And Brandon, one thing I do want to go over is the weather. Obviously, we are under the lights here, which will cool it down a little bit. Let's bring up and show the fans at home what we do have. Oh, actually, we can't do that at the same time. That graphic changed. So we will have to wait for the grid to pass by. Again, new graphics package here on SimTV. I'm still getting used to it myself. But other things to talk about, Brandon, the point standing. Scott Crump leading the points now by 3 points over Joshua Adams. These guys have been the moneymakers all season. Last week, the victory did go to Scott Crump. He also won at Phoenix earlier this year. Josh Adams had that victory at Daytona. Has yet to find victory lane here tonight. We'll see if he's able to put that 95 up there and contend for the win.
Yeah, all of these going to be battling it out for the win tonight. But of course, points leader Scott Crump starting back there in that 5th position, and anything can happen here at Bristol, so it should be an interesting show.
Yes, it does. As we do wrap up the grid, 31st and 31st. Actually 33rd, Joshua Neal shotgun on the field here tonight. So that is your grid. Now we can go ahead and give you your weather facts of the evening. 64 degrees in the air, 66 on the track, and a very minor 2-mile-an-hour wind from the east. Looks like just past 7 o'clock VST virtual standard time. Again, I give props to my friends at the Global Sim Racing channel for coming up with that one for us. But it does look like the pace car is beginning to roll off here. And again, we will go for 2 pace laps around and leading up to what'll be a 200 lap race here in Thunder Valley.
200 laps around the Bristol Motor Speedway. And again, the world of fastest half mile. These laps are going to tick by quick, Corey, as you and I both know. So pace car on track now. These guys get stacked up, doubled up, and ready to go green flag racing for the first time of the night.
You just say the world of fastest racetrack?
I meant to say the world's fastest half mile, and then it came out of something else. I don't know. Don't question.
Okay.
I tried to cover it up, but it didn't get away from me.
You can see to the inside, I do want to call it out as we go through 3 or 4, that blue line that you see kind of separating the flat part of the apron to the slightly banked portion of the apron, that dictates the fact that they will have to stay below that line during any and all pit stops to avoid penalties due to this new single pit road we have. Obviously, the Pro Invitational NASCAR Cup Series event will be taking place here this week, so funny how things get changed right before that kind of thing happens. But here we go down the back straightaway here. Bristol Motor Speedway, the Ohio Intra Express 200 here tonight is what is presented for us by the ERSCA PristineAuction.com Xfinity Series. Corey Silva and Brandon Kreutz here on SimTV to give you the calls. Let's see what happens. Damian Leininger and Nick Massey are your front row. Pace car pulls in. We wait for the green flag. There it is, and we're racing in Bristol.
Green flag is in here. These guys will storm down at a corner number 1, now down at a corner number 2. Damian Leininger going to have the advantage up on the high side. These guys going to spread out awfully quick here on the high banks.
Yep, it's going to be getting up to the top of the racetrack. We've seen a lot on iRacing recently that it's about getting to the bottom of the track. Not going to be the case. These guys are going to want to Larson it right on the top of the speedway. And again, it's going to be very difficult to make those passes down low. And if anything, Brandon, you make a pass attempt down low, it may actually cost you a spot rather than trying to gain one.
Absolutely, it may, Corey. And back here watching Josh Adams, he got stuck in the low side of the racetrack, and he's already lost a couple of positions here. He tried to gain up top, and he gained a couple of spots, and now all the way back to that 8th position, position number 7, once again.
We'll see. Here he goes to the bottom of the racetrack. Again on Vincent Isabella, trying to go for the slide job, but we are under caution already. Looks like it may be Brian Dorsey in the 9 machine. Has had some problems on the front straightaway, so we will go into SimTV replay and try to see what happened to the number 9 here very early in the event here at Bristol.
Looks like that number 1 machine in front of him, it's going to be Scott Brotherson up into the outside wall and just brushes it enough to cause a little bit of a stack up there, and unfortunately around goes the 9 and hard contact with the inside wall.
Yes, it is. Boom, right in the right rear, and it was a hard bit of contact, Brandon, but luckily in his case, it didn't really affect any suspension components that we at least saw visually. So in that case, he may be fine to continue. Aerodynamics, obviously, while we do hit about 140-ish miles an hour here at Bristol, it is insurmountable. It isn't insurmountable. You can overcome, some slight damage here and still be competitive.
Absolutely, you can, and aerodynamics. Granted, they do play a small factor here at Bristol just because of the amount of speed that these guys carry around this tight bull ring. But they are not as important as some of the bigger 1.5-mile tracks or the 2-mile ovals.
Now, Brandon, something that, again, I've been told here, I haven't turned too many laps here at Bristol this week, just turned a bunch of Texas in the Xfinity car. And I know on the 1.5 milers, the right front essentially, it does not enjoy itself. It gets mutilated on a lot of the 1.5s. I've been told tire wear isn't too crazy here on the short track tire that iRacing has provided these guys tonight. So, depending what kind of race we have, if it's, 10, 15 laps caution, 10, 15, maybe 20 laps caution, there may be some strategy call. Do you stay out for the track position, just knowing how difficult it is to make passes?
Yeah, as long as tire fall-off isn't too bad, towards the end of this race, if these guys get quick cautions back-to-back, I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of two-tire calls. But it's the risk that you got to play, and strategy definitely could end up being the winner of this race here tonight. But, of course, still really early in the nights, as we're only 7 laps now on lap 8 of a 200-lap event.
Yeah, so one thing that looks like is the case here, it does appear as such that we are given, every league kind of has its different nuances, different rule sets, and it does look like they are giving leader lane choice. Leininger naturally going to the top of the racetrack, so he will have that advantage. And Brandon, this is probably, I would say, the most difficult track on the service to be the second place car in a restart, just with the high banking and how difficult it is to get at the throttle and not get loose. It's very difficult to read a restart as a second place driver.
Absolutely it is, and we're going to experience this first restart of the night, as these guys are going to get ready to go back. Green flag racing. Pace car pulls off this time around. The 12 machine, Damian Leininger, going to get back into the throttle just off of corner number 4. They're on the throttle. Green flag is back in the air.
Flashbulbs are going off here, and Tate Lytle did not get the start he needed, or perhaps it was intentional, just to be able to clear and get solidly into the second position on the outside of the racetrack. He did so successfully. Last week's winner, Scott Crump, in the 51. He's to the inside of the track. He's going to try to squeeze up in front of Josh Adams, right behind him. He did so just in front of Dylan Thomas in the 03. Thomas didn't give him too much room, but just enough for that 51 to remain in the 5th position.
So Scott Crump did what he had to do to stay in that 5th spot, and moves like that this early in the race, these guys got to be really careful of, because a lot of these guys aren't going to give you the room, and in order to be there to win this race, you got to be there at the end. So a little bit of a risky game there, trying to make aggressive moves this early in the race.
But if you don't make that move, Brandon, if you don't make that move, he's in 5th now. You see the 03, you see the 57 of Pettit, the 4 of Isabella, 9 of Parham, all of them right behind him. If he did not make that move, he very easily could still be trying to fight in up top, maybe 8, 9, 10 positions. There's some sparks kicking up. Looks like that may have been the 56 of Lytle into the fence in the middle of 1 and 2.
Absolutely it was, and Lytle's got a bit of a train forming behind him. Now side by side back there for that 3rd position. 86 down.
95 around. He saves it.
Somehow saving that race car was Josh Adams in the 95. We stay green. Patrick Gasper going to walk away with that 3rd spot. Tate Lytle still back there in 2nd. Scott Crump going to come away in 4th so far. And it's unfortunate break for the 95 team, as he's going to have to recover. Yeah, on SimTV replay, we saw the 86 of Gaspar just get into the left rear. And something that happens a lot, Brandon, as we just saw that on replay, something that does happen a lot here at Bristol, is you will see situations where that wall will actually, help you out. He got turned, but because the wall was right there, the wall straightened him back out. He is in 7th now versus being in 3rd, but he's in one piece and able to continue. That he is. So looks like the 86 machine Gasper going to try to gain another position here. He's going for 2nd place down on the low side. Almost a little bit of contact there.
In the fence on the front straightaway as well.
The sparks fly here tonight at Bristol, as quite a few times already that we've seen. So Gasper going to lose a little bit of momentum. He's going to fall back and possibly go for it again here as he tries to regain himself.
Taylor Swift would be proud of all these sparks flying here tonight, I would sing, but you know, they're monetized on this channel, so we won't go there. But 20 laps into this race, it does look like Leininger pulling out to about a 0.3 of a second lead. Battle on the track. 95 tried to pull the slider off in 3 and 4. Is he going to be able to clear? Just hardly does Adams pull up in front of the 57 of Adam Pettit.
Already some really aggressive moves so far, but as you said, Corey, those aggressive moves would keep you or gain you spots here early in the race, and it puts you in a good position for later. But, you know, of course, this is still quite the long race, but we know Adams had some speed to run up front. He fell all the way back to
22 with the slider. That's Kenny Lowry, rather. Pulls the slider off on the 57 of Pettit, and Pettit's now going to be stuck to the bottom of the track, and now the Lowry brothers will pretty much get him out to dry on the inside of the track. 2 in the 22. They're going to be 7th and 8th are the Lowry brothers.
Pettit's going to slide back up now. Now down low goes the 91, trying to get a position from him. And side by side, down off of corner number 2 rather, that time by. And still hanging down low, and the gap's closing behind him, so 91's going to have to duck up top once again if he wants to try to hold that spot. Well, Corey, the door closed pretty quickly there on him.
We are on board with Johnny Parham in the 4 machine, the 91 machine rather. And I do want to bring up a race sponsor that came on board. The onboard sponsor graphic of the race is going to be Your Own Hero, hashtag Brave Like Wyatt. Wyatt was a 9-year-old who had a heart syndrome and had to have a heart transplant. He thought he did have some cancer. He was allegedly, he did get cancer free, but soon passed away after that. So there is a charity to help with pediatric transplants. Be Your Own Hero, hashtag Brave Like Wyatt. You can look up more information. A sponsor that did come on board for a good cause, helping with pediatric situations and children that need help. So kind of another good, a lot of sponsors on board with this league. And we do have a
wreck on the front stretch. 12 of Damian Leininger going around and collecting all of your leaders up front.
And Josh Adams.
Damian Leininger was your race leader at the time. And it looked like a lot of help from that 56 car. And involved was the 56, the 03 of Dylan Thomas, Scott Crump involved, Josh Adams, all of your front runners involved in the lap 28 chaos.
Yeah, so we're going on with that the charity. We'll get into that a little bit later, but it looks like I know the post office needs a little bit of help. Well, Tate Lytle just I think he might be applying with that send it move there, right in the back bumper, sends him around, and then you can see the big stack of Scott Crump, the 95, and from the chopper cam we can see a little bit more of people who have had problems throughout that incident. So just just that's Bristol, and part of Bristol, Brandon, where we're running on the top of the racetrack now, is you can't send it in the way that you used to. You know, a bump and run when you're on the bottom of the track, drivers have the ability to move up. But when you're already on the bottom of the when you're already on the top of the track and you make a bump and run, there's nowhere for them to go.
Yeah, absolutely, and a tough situation there is obviously I guess they thought that he would have been able to clear or try to make a move there, obviously showing a lot more speed through the center of the corner, but that was a lot of rear contact there, and just lifted his rear wheels right off the ground and turned him around.
Yeah, so we did have the majority of the field choose to pit. Looks like a couple drivers actually chose to pit on the second time round, it looks like. There were about 7 drivers that pitted the first time by. Well, didn't pit the first time by. It looks like the majority of them are choosing to pit. The only one that has stayed on the circuit is actually Jake Finch in the 23. He is on his original set of tires from 31 laps ago, 32 as it is now. So, again, interesting to see that, but again, that's just that was a lot of our big names, Brandon, as you said. And again, we were going over that sponsor, that charity, and I do recommend people checking that out still. But again, we did have Nick Massey. He is now 8 laps down, or rather 11 laps down, We have Josh Adams, who is still on the lead lap. We have Dylan Thomas, who's without a hood. He's going to try to still beat the pace car out. Scott Crump is looks like some minor body damage, but he may be okay. And then, of course, Damian Leininger. He's going to be running this modified style.
Yeah, and of course, Damian Leininger was your leader prior to that wreck there. So it was a potential battle for the lead starting to unfold in contact between two drivers. A lot of tough breaks up there at the front of the fields, but that hands the lead over to the 86 here, Patrick Gasper, and he's sitting pretty good right now himself.
Actually, looks like
Jake Finch,
yeah.
Finch is still out front. I believe staying out on that round of this.
Yep, so Jake Finch is going to be out on 33-lap old tires. We know tires aren't as big of a deal, but still 33 laps. Can he hang on? Will he get some wheel spin? Gets on the throttle. Accelerates rather smooth. Green flag back in the air for this next restart. He pulls out to about a gap of about 3 or 4 car lengths as the 84 of Hill Jr. is going to try to get to the top of Kyle Hanshaw for that second position. Will Hanshaw get stuck there on the bottom? Looks like he will. Zishandura in the 10, try to get there, but does choose to back off just nearly, and he turns him. Contact.
Oh, over to the outside, wall around goes the 46. Caution on the speedway.
Oh no, they're piling in.
57.
Massey, Crump again. Crump involved again. We saw the Lowry brothers involved. Caution again. Adam Pettit in the 57 involved.
A lot of fast drivers week after week we see with critical damage on the majority of their race cars now, as we have another pile up down at a corner number 2.
Yeah, we'll take a look here. Oh, we just missed it. Let's see what happened. The 10 machine goes to the top of the racetrack. 46 does get back into play. Contact on the entry of 1. And then 46 is just losing it. And as the 46 loses it, they all stack in. Get a better look at that. 46 just stacks them in. 57 is there. The 83 is there. Essentially, the whole back straightaway ended up just becoming a parking lot, more or less.
Battered, smothered, and covered as they're building a Waffle House back there.
Brandon, they're monetized on this network. We can't use copyright.
A pancake apartment.
Wow. You open up a restaurant called Pancake Apartment, I think you're going to have one customer. That's going to be yourself. So Jake Finch in that 38 did still make the decision to stay on the racetrack. Bill Jr. in second, Ishandura in third. Cody McCorkle is now your 4th place driver, and Joe Francis, Atlanta winner, in the 5th position. Damian Leininger, so far so good without a front end, running in the 6th spot. Zach Patton, we're the Zach Patton fans. So far it's been pretty quiet in the Zach Patton tent here at the Bristol Motor Speedway, but he is in the top 10 thus far in 7th. Tate Lytle trying to come back in the 8th position with that right rear damage. Patrick Gaspar and Dylan Thomas, your top 10, as we are nearly 1/5 distance into this race.
So Jake Finch still out in front of this thing so far, and again on old tires. He is, I think, just kind of playing it caution by caution. The trend holds true here for Bristol, Corey, is cautions do indeed breed cautions.
Yes, they do, and we do have, Scott Crump has been a driver that has not had much luck here tonight. He's just been, trying to do the best he can, and no matter what he's been doing, has a fast car, just has not been able to take advantage of anything, and is just getting caught up in everything. That's what happens when you put yourself in the back of the field. You just ask for trouble, and that's the middle of the hornet's nest. But we're going to try it one more time. Again, Jake Finch on the initial set of tires. Hill Jr. is directly behind him. He has 10-lap-old tires. Essentially, you go back to about the 14th position to get the freshest tires on the racetrack, rather the 15th position. Dylan Hickey, that's the freshest tires on the racetrack right now, but we'll see, Brandon, if that 23, every further restart that you get out there, it's going to be even harder to get better starts and not get wheel spin. We'll see if he can do it this time.
Field ready to fire down at a corner number 4, this time by Jake Finch, restarting on the outside in that 23 machine. He's on the throttle. Green flag is back in the air.
It's that jump, does the 23. Massive jump, already up by about 0.4 of a second. We're not even off corner number 2 yet. Cody McCorkle has gotten sole possession of the second spot right now. Here comes third. The 84 is to the inside. The 12 of Leininger with no front end. He's going for a podium position thus far. He's going to wrap it around the top of the truck, try to get that 84 stuck to the inside.
Almost got stuffed into the wall. There was that 12 machine, but he managed to clear and now up into that 4th position as the 84 dropping like a rock there down at the bottom of the racetrack.
Now the 84, I mean, he was all the way, he was in the 2nd position, and now he's going to be lucky to end up being able to, you know, stay in the top 10 the way that it is right now. So we'll see where he does fall back in line, if anybody's going to play nice, though so far not so good. He's all the way essentially out of the top 10 now. Who is that right behind him? The 69 of Chris Wright. He's had some good runs so far. And I'll tell you, these guys are going to have to watch out for the right sides. I know we're against the fence, but you got to stay out of the wall. That right side will only take so much.
There was just a pass for the lead up front with ease. Cody McCourt will going to be scored as your new race leader in the 61 machine on the bottom of the racetrack. And again, with ease, going by Jake Finch there for the lead.
Yeah, try to catch it on replay if we can. You can see down in 3 and 4, he just, again, sailed it onto the inside in those 40-lap-old tires, and, you know, Jake Finch, I'm assuming, is not going to fight too hard for it at this point in the race. So he does settle on in right now into the 2nd spot, see where he does fall out. Obviously, he's hoping for another caution within about maybe 20-30 laps. Give it a chance for everybody to make pit stops and kind of settle himself out in a higher position than he was otherwise. Because he did start the race in the 20th position, so strategy call working to his benefit right now.
Absolutely it is, and pass for 3rd place also Zishan Dura up to that 3rd position against Damian Leininger. Leininger starting to fall off and lose positions now as he continues to battle up on that high side, but I do think that damage really is starting to hurt him.
Yeah, I think the newness on the tires maybe gave him benefit of the doubt, gave him the Superman status for a couple laps, but, you know, eventually, you know, reality sets in, and I think now that the aerodynamics of running by yourself, not having that downforce, tires are starting to wear, as the 86 to the inside. Patrick Gasper, I think he was trying to make a move on Joe Francis, but now he's stuck to the inside. He's going to try to clear in front of the L3 of Dylan Thomas. Thomas without a hood, so his aerodynamic situation is obviously quite compromised. But the 86 will get himself into the 7th spot.
Now has his eyes set on the 12 in front of him, and him in the 50 machine of Joe Francis going to be side by side for position. The high side prevails that time around. Now Francis starting to drop back.
More sparks flying here at Bristol, and seeing as this battle does go on, Joe Francis, I'm having a hard time telling Brandon, because he has had some opportunities to get to the top of the racetrack. Almost seems as such to me that he may be intentionally staying down there, maybe trying to save tires. I know sometimes people say it does save tires to run the bottom, but he's had some chances to get up there and kind of chose against it, as there's some beating and banging between the 86 rather, and I think that was the 12 of Leininger.
Yeah, 86, Patrick Gasper rather, trying to make his way back up through the field once again. He's just outside of the top 5 looking in. Now going to shoot to the bottom of the racetrack and going to try to take the position away from the 12. Almost going to squeeze him up on the outside wall once again. Tight spaces working here at Bristol. Now down the back straightaway. It's going to be a drag race once again.
Yes, it is, and you know the aerodynamics will obviously come into play at some point. The slide job was tried there by Gasper, but you know, I was talking to Johnny Thomas before the race, one of the league admin here, just saying that it is even hard to make the slide job, at least until the tires really start to wear. And it does look like the 12 cut him a break there unintentionally, and he tried to get back to the back bumper of the 86, but I think he just kind of calmed down and decided to maybe let it be for a second. We'll see if Dylan Thomas in the 03 could take advantage of the 12 being on the bottom.
Another thing about this Bristol, I will hold that thought as caution on the speedway.
Oh, looks like we have a multi-car incident. Josh Adams involved again. Multi-car incident we do have in corner number 4. We'll check out our replay and see what we can figure out from what happened here.
Well, looked like Kenny Lowry kind of got forced up to the outside wall there and lost a lot of momentum up on the high side. And, well, they stacked him up as he was down of speed. The 83 gets into him. Adams hard contact into that passenger side door.
Oh, and then Adams just T-boned like a steak there, full bore into the middle. But yeah, and the other, 22, 25 Marshall Stanley involved. A lot of marbles to the inside there, Brandon, if you've noticed in the inside of the corners here.
I have. Yeah. I did indeed notice.
Yeah, I think iRacing kind of tuned up the marbles a little bit. I wonder if those marbles are actually on the inside of the... If these guys are going to be running over them in the pit lane. Looks like they may actually be doing so. So, kind of an interesting dynamic that was kind of unintentional, that I think is... You're going to be picking up marbles on the way into the pits as everyone does come in. Cody McCorkle. This definitely works out for the 23 of Jake Finch because he's going to be caught up on the same strategy. These guys, you can see a couple guys pitting on the back straightaway. They won't have that same hindrance that they once had before. Obviously coming all the way around to the front stretch through the 3 and 4 apron.
Looks like it's going to be a close race off pit road between the 61 and the 23 off pit road as they got to go all the way around the racetrack, and McCorkle may have gotten that position away.
Yeah, McCorkle did hang on to it. We did have Scott Brotherton in the 1 machine choose to stay on the speedway, at least for the time being. We'll see if he does choose to stay out there. We saw Finch stay out there in about 30 lap old tires, so technically he's within 5 laps of even that, so it may work out even more to, a beneficial situation for him.
He comes to pit road this time, Corey.
All right, so scratch that. He got his lap led. He'll drive through the marbles there. And Brandon, just looking at what's happened so far, again, our top 5 in points now: Crump, Adams, Massey, Lytle, and Francis. Lytle is up there, and Francis is, tail end of the top 10. But the 95 of Adams and the 51 of Crump, pretty much 1 and 2 in the points right now. Adams, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to cover after that. That was a huge impact. I have to imagine he has engine damage. And then the 51 of Crump, he's been in just about everything tonight. He still is hanging on at the early teens in the 13th position. Again, have to wonder how much power or handling problems he has.
Yeah, I'm noticing a lot of modified looking race cars out there with no nose pieces and fenders missing and all of the good stuff here at the short track of Bristol Motor Speedway. But these guys getting ready for the restart. This pace car ready to head down to corner number 3.
Yes, that is indeed what's about to happen. These guys will head to Bristol this week, and I think we'll have the same thing next week, Brandon, as we head to Talladega next week. So these guys have probably destroyed cars 2 weeks in a row before we have our off week, but we'll see what happens here on this next restart. McCorkle will choose the inside groove versus what Leininger and other company have done on prior restarts. He'll get on the loud pedal. He will accelerate nice and smooth, and he'll go right to the top of the racetrack, entering turn number 1.
61 machine, McCorkle up to the top of the racetrack, up to the outside wall, down low, caution flag on the speedway. Not for your leader, something further back in the pack.
Kyle Hanshaw, looks like.
And Zach Patton also involved.
Oh, Zach Patton, that one's gonna sting for some people. We'll try to see what happened. Corner number 2, the 3 into the wall. When 3 hit the wall, the 46 was an innocent bystander there. But I do want to quickly go back and see what happened to McCorkle on that. Because McCorkle, he got off pretty well, and then just must have got really loose off a 2. We'll take a look here while we're still on the replay. Oh, into the fence, and just brought him to the bottom of the track, and he just did a very good job staying down there and out of the way. But, hey, Brandon, we talked about it last week. I can't remember who it caught out last week, but it caught out somebody at Homestead where the way that it is, at least here on iRacing, we don't have the fully encompassed safer barrier yet. So the safer barrier tapers off on the exit of the corners. It's a plain concrete wall down the straightaways, and then it tapers back, obviously, when you enter the next corner. So some drivers, when you exit the corner, if you hit it at that kind of diagonal tapered section, it really upsets the car and kind of throws it, out of whack, and it seems like that's what happened to McCorkle.
Yeah, absolutely. These cars on corner exit are already really, really loose as they get so light. I mean, you're right in the top of the racetrack, and then it just drops off from that large amount of banking, and it feels like the car wants to lift right off the ground as is, and you had a little bit of, I guess, interference, you could say, and that definitely made the car really upset. And beautiful save by Cody McCorkle there down off the corner. That's losing a couple of positions in the process. I do think that caution really did help him, though. Yeah, absolutely, and two totally different racetracks from Bristol and Talladega, but I guess kind of the same strategy is you just want to keep your nose clean throughout the whole race. These guys will kind of slowly knock themselves out, as bad as it sounds, but it is the fact. These guys will slowly start to knock themselves out, and if you can just be at the right place at the right time and keep your nose clean, you'll have a good shot to finish in a decent position at the end of this thing.
Yes, you will, and all you got to do is stay out of the way. If you're one of those slower drivers, it is hard to stay out of the way here at Bristol. So sometimes stay to the bottom of the track and just do the best you can. But we'll see what happens here on this next restart. We're about to take lap number 70. Going to be Finch on relatively fresh tires to the outside. Tate Lytle back in a good position on the inside of row number 1. Green flag's going to be back in the air. Let's try it one more time.
They steam down into corner number 1 this time around. Is the 56 going to try his best to get up to the top side for second? Not quite going to happen. It's going to be Zishandura up there on the high side. Now a little bit of a slide job action. Still not quite going to clear for that 56 machine.
Is the 10 going to cut him a break? No, he's not. He's going to get right to the top there. And that's one thing here at Bristol, Brandon, that you cannot do, is even if you want to give somebody a break, the passes are so hard to come by. If that door is open, you got to push it open, because that may be your only chance to make a pass for the whole run.
Absolutely, and now we see the 56 back there. He's dropping like a rock. That's Tate Lytle back there in the 56 as he's going to force his way down up in front of the 61 there that time by. So up to the top of the racetrack goes Tate Lytle, falling all the way back to, I believe, around the 5th position or so.
Yeah, it looks like 4th is where he has settled in, and I just kind of give some love to the guys, in the mid-teens. We haven't talked too much about tonight. We can see Will Cannon and Dylan Hickey. Will Cannon's just on the end of the top 10 now, but he's stuck to the bottom of the racetrack, and that's Dylan Hickey in the 15 Mobil 1 Ford Mustang to the outside. And then Dylan and Dylan show just about to get some positions gain on the 08. 08, I thought he was going to come up there in front of the 03, chose to leave the lane, but he will move up and remain in the position regardless.
So these guys battling hard all throughout the speedway right now. It does not take long for these guys to get spread out, and the conveyor belt, as I like to call it, here on the shorter racetracks. These guys get spread out so quick. As contact in front of the 08 machine, that was a 15 hard contact the outside wall. They'll get by him with ease. and we stay green.
Yeah, that was Will Cannon got to get back by the 15, and he did so successfully. But Brandon, one thing that we haven't really had happen yet, and look at Scott Crump go. He's in the 14th spot. He's trying. Look at the 51 and the 12. What kind of battle is that? We got the 51 to 12 with no front ends. Right in front of him is the 03 of Thomas with no hood.
Yeah, interesting battles all throughout this racetrack. A lot of torn up race cars, but these guys, a little bit of perseverance out there on the racetrack, and these guys still fighting up, trying to gain positions and still managing to battle with these other drivers out here. Granted, probably not the position where they'd like to be, but they are still gaining positions nevertheless.
And that into the fence just a little bit ahead. That was the 84 of Robert Hill Jr. I think he was into the fence there off of quarter number 4. That allowed Johnny Thomas in the 83, who's obviously been rear-ended once or twice today, to pass him and get into the 11th spot. See the significant damage, Belly Up Sports podcast. That's on the 83, one of the league sponsors. Doing him pretty good justice so far, Johnny. Trying to get him into the top 10, currently running in 11th. But Brandon, one thing we haven't had happen yet, and it's very susceptible here at Bristol, and it's very much a game changer with passing, is lap traffic. We're running about 15-second lap times around here right now. And, you know, Kyle Lowry is the last one on the lead lap, and he's just about 14 seconds back, so he's going to be lapped pretty quickly. And then right behind that, we have some guys already, you know, a half lap behind.
Yeah, so lap traffic is going to get pretty thick here pretty quick. And, of course, that is always something that is in the back of the leader's mind. Is he's got to be the first one to come up on these cars, not knowing what they're going to do. And if anybody's going to battle anybody as of being a lap down, it's going to be the car trying not to go a lap down versus the leader. So, one thing to keep in the back of your head as the race leader.
And we do have a battle for the lead, in progress right now. DeChandura in the 10. We've seen him not be afraid to use the bumper tonight. We'll see if that trend does continue here. He does take a look to the inside. Obviously, nothing's going to happen right here, so he's going to have to get creative. He's going to have to wait for a mistake, wait for the 23 to get into the wall. He's going to have to get a good run on corner exit, maybe get a quarter panel underneath, and then send it. He's going to try to. He's going to try to keep door-to-door with him off the corner. Use lap traffic as a pick, as the two machines.
Oh, he turns him. He turns him up to the outside wall. No caution on the speedway. They keep it straight and moving.
I don't know.
Big contact at the outside safer barrier.
We'll see. We'll take a look at the replay before we pass too much judgment on this. So we'll take a look here on SimTV replay. Just queuing it up right now. Let's see here off of corner number 2 as they head down the back straightaway. Lap cars coming up, and was he trying to? What did he think he was clear? Trying to move up to try to get up, avoid the lap car, or was he just kind of forcing the issue there? Can't really tell too much. But regardless of either of that, the 10 is down into the 6th position right now.
So
and
back to
23 is down to the 8th. So. And
back to the lead is that 86 machine of Gasper, and the battle for the lead is still continuing, or it was the 56 right onto the back bumper of that 86 now. Yeah, they picked up where they left off, so now we still have a battle for the lead. That is two completely different drivers due to circumstance. Again, that move didn't work out for either of them. Again, Dura in 6th, and Finch is in the 8th spot now, so now they're going to have to work through as we near halfway. Big slide job attempt from Lytle. Is he going to clear? He's not going to clear. Now he's going to have to, regain his composure a little bit. The 86 is still going to be on the top. Lytle's going to try again. Typically, in my experience, Brandon, you don't do back-to-back sliders. You kind of have to let the tires cool and rerun, but he did try it there. He did try it. He didn't lose too much ground there.
Here he goes again.
Gonna try for the slide, or is he? Didn't lose too much ground there, and he's not losing too much ground. He's gonna try it again. They're down on the bottom of the racetrack, sending it in, and the 86 of Gasper not giving him any room there down at the bottom, and that's exactly what you got to do to prevent these guys from. I don't want to say push and shove, but from being able to really pull up next to your door there, you got to cut his momentum off.
Yes, you do, and And Britt, every time you kind of, the way that I think of it, it's almost like, think of a damage meter in, a fighting game or something like that. Every time you make a slide job like that, and here he goes again. Is it going to work? I think this one may work. It does. He does clear, but every time you make a slide job like that, I think of a damage meter in like a Mortal Kombat. It's like, you're just burning a little bit of tire every time you make that power move because you're loading up the right front so much that you can't make too many of those moves in a row before it really bites you at the end of the run.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree 100% as Tate Lytle coming up on some lap cars now, as I do expect lap traffic to get pretty thick here pretty quickly, Corey.
Pretty thick, pretty quick. We do have, who was at the 84 of Hill Jr. He was, running a little bit better. He hit the wall earlier. Something must have happened while we were watching another battle, because now he's a lap down and significantly off the pace in that number 84 machine. And, the drivers that we saw earlier, Dura still in the 6th position. He is trying to pass Chris Wright for 5th. Jake Finch, however, he was in 8th. He's fallen back to 9th. That may turn into 10th because here comes Will Cannon in the 08 machine to the inside, as we just did pass the halfway point in tonight's Ohio Intra Express 200.
So, as for the last good amount of laps, it's been green flag racing. So, these guys on a fairly good run here as of right now. And again, Tate Lytle, Gasper, Isabella, Francis, and Dura making up your top 5 so far through the field.
Your last driver on the lead lap right now is fan favorite, Zach Patton, and we're on the rear deck lid cam of Zach Patton. Well, I can't really call it a rear deck lid cam because there's no rear deck lid, but we are on the rear camera facing backwards on that number 3, and the person we have in the rear view mirror is your leader, Tate Lytle. Lytle essentially running a half second a lap faster than Patton, perhaps due to the increased downforce that the 56 has in comparison to the 3. He'll take it right to the top of the track. Patton will not hold him back at all, and that will leave 16 drivers on the lead lap, last one being Brandon Key.
So Lytle pulling some pretty good lap times around this place right now, and managed to pull away from your 2nd place driver.
Just had Damian Leininger get by the 61 of McCorkle. Again, Leininger running in that modified, essentially, still making some good time as the 61 gets into the fence right here. Again, Scott Crump, we talked about him having multiple incidents tonight, getting caught in a bunch of ruckus. He is in the 10th position right now, and just to reference Josh Adams, he still is on the track. Remember, 2nd in points. He still is on the track. He hasn't had the recovery of, you say, a Scott Crump, who's still in the top 10. He is 3 laps down in the 23rd position.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Adams, I think that race car is going to be down on power, as it suffered quite a bit of damage on that last wreck. So quite a bit more than cosmetic damage, I should say.
Another driver we talk about on the regular basis, but not so much tonight. Nick Massey. Again, I don't know quite what happened to him, Brandon. I don't recall if he got into an incident earlier in the race. I honestly don't remember, but he is 10 laps down in the 26th position right now. So not quite what he is looking for. And Kenny Lowry, I remember having him at Richmond. Kenny and Kyle, for example. Especially Kyle at Richmond a couple weeks ago had an amazing run. Tonight, not so much. Significant damage in the 18th position. We do have a battle for 2nd position. That's Joe Francis getting by Vincent Isabella, really with no battle whatsoever. Well, we'll see if that 50, we saw him dominate Atlanta, and we'll see if he's able to do justice here. And I will say, Brandon, on the lap times, you can see he's 0.3 of a second faster than the leader, because the leader is in heavy lap traffic, being forced to run the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, heavy lap traffic, and we knew this is going to come into play here, so just got to stay out of trouble up there, as that 56 car does. And, as long as you can keep your nose clean out front, then you're in a good position for the end of this race.
Yeah, he was a lap and a half, rather a second and a half back, was Francis. Now he's within a second. Marshall Stanley in the 25. He is the next one to impede the process. of the 50 of Francis, and we'll see what line Stanley does choose to give him. Looks like Stanley is going to take the top of the track, which will force the 50 to the bottom, and you can see some other slower cars, 84 Hill Jr. running the bottom of the track, so it really turns into a slalom course, Brandon, and it turns into, bring a basketball reference into play. Kind of turns into a game of the pick and roll, where you set up your competitor to be in a certain spot, knowing that a lapper is going to slow him down, and then try to pass him in another lane.
56 forced to the bottom of the racetrack once again to try to get around lap traffic. So again, that is not helping him one bit, and he's just hoping that to give Francis in the 50 machine the same treatment as he gets stuck behind two cars side by side for position back there in front of him.
Yeah, that's the 03 of Thomas and the 44 machine. I think we referenced him at all tonight, David Strackbine. Not too impressive of a performance as the 83, rather the 03 still into the fence. But Brandon, we're down to 12 drivers on the lead lap now. Last one's going to be Kyle Hanshaw in the 46 machine. So these guys are clicking the laps off here. We're almost 60 laps into this run. Now, no, I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
Don't jinx anything.
I'm not going to say it.
I know what you're going to say. I don't want you to jinx it.
No, what I'm going to say is we do have to do our SimTV trivia question sponsored by insert sponsor here. Don't quite have one. No, I really don't have one right now. We'll see if we can come up with it. But
you can do something fancy for Bristol here tonight.
All right, here we go. This is an easy one. Jeff Gordon bumped Rusty Wallace out of the way in the closing laps of 2 Bristol races. Name which years, as we do have contact between the 46 and the 08. That is for position, last 2 cars in lead lap, Hanshaw and Cannon. But to the question, Jeff Gordon bumped Rusty Wallace 2 years to win races here at Bristol in the closing laps. What 2 years did those events happen? The SimTV trivia question sponsored by insert sponsor here. Or a virtual sticker.
That's a weird name for a company.
Insert company here. All right, Zishandura in the number 10 machine closing in on the 4 of Vincent Isabella. That's a battle for the 3rd spot, and we know that 10 machine, Brandon, he's not afraid to get into it, as we did have some contact there. Dylan Thomas got into, I believe it was a 25 of Marshall Stanley, just in front of him. But there goes Dura with the slide job move. Does manage to get by the 4 machine without contest. We dealt the 10 machine not afraid to play hardball tonight, Brandon. I wonder if the 4 took that into consideration.
Yeah, I think another thing is the tires on that 4 machine really not holding up the way that I think he would like. So. Tire wear a little bit of a factor for him also, and he's starting to kind of fall back and lose position slowly but surely.
No, Brandon, we are right now. I don't want to do it. I really don't, but we're getting to the point where I don't really have a choice. I have to bring it up. So we are, we'll pull up our leader right now of Tate Lytle. We'll bring up our stint graphic. You can see it's been almost 70 laps since he's been on the since he's been in the pits, and he's in heavy traffic now. Heavy traffic. We see the 15, we see the 69 of Chris Wright. This is all going to help the 50 of Joe Francis close on in, as you can see the mess that he is in. But Brandon, we are 70 laps to go. They're not going to run 170 laps. So if we don't have a caution, this is going to get interesting, because we are over a second off the pace with tire wear. And with this new configuration of Bristol, we talked about it in the pre-race show, it's not how it works in standard NASCAR just due to sim coding limitations. They do have to come down the entire length of the pit road under green flag conditions, as Joe Francis is 3 wide trying to split lap traffic.
Wow, that was a close call there for that 50. 3 wide is not something that you often hear at Bristol without hearing caution following it. But they made it work.
Yeah, I was waiting for my mouse to turn yellow there. I actually have a fancy mouse that actually does code to the flag situation in iRacing. So it actually, every time my mouse turns yellow, I know we have a caution, and I was waiting for it there.
That's actually pretty cool.
I know it. Yeah, it is. RGB is an amazing thing. And there it is. There, my mouse just turned yellow. Caution flag. Cody McCorkle. So that whole green flag strategy we talked about.
Yeah, throw it out the window.
Throw it out the window, but don't litter.
Contact. Lots of contact there from the 44 machine. Sends McCorkle around, and that'll bring out the caution flag once again.
On instant replay right now. And yeah, that Strackbine, he sent him for a ride there, and I hope he had his seatbelt and he bought his ticket, because he just went for a ride. And actually, in this day and age, I hope he followed travel guidelines and stay-at-home practices. But 61 did go for a ride there. Luckily, not too much damage, and he is still a lap down. So we were down to 8 drivers on the lead lap. I do think Dylan Hickey, he is speeding around the track. He may be the free pass. So I think we're just down to about 7 drivers on the lead lap, and you can see Tate Lytle coming down pit lane here. He has to go down the back straightaway. And this is what we were talking about, because just the way that, you know, it is in the gaming world, the simulator world that we're in, it's kind of hard to have conditional rules how they have in real life. So even under caution or green flag, the same pit rules apply. You'd have to come through the whole sequence. And that would probably have lost Brandon 3, 4, 5 laps doing this whole pit road under caution. Rather under green flag.
Yeah, it would have been a lot, and you know, it would have cycled through for everybody. It would have been tremendous had we gotten a caution during green flag pit stops, and it would have put a lot of people a lot of laps down. So, you know, that would have been interesting, I guess. But, you know, I don't think from this point forward we'll have to worry about the whole green flag pit stop scenario, even though it got pretty close to that and that last run. Yeah,
if they got to about 100 laps, I would have really started thinking that it would have happened, but because they would have had to pit at some point. But Tate Lytle, he had such a gap on the field that he was able to, you know, pretty much make his pit stop and not even have any. He probably even got some damage fixed. He had plenty of time there, but he will come out in first. Joe Francis now, we'll see what he can do with a clean slate and fresh tires and no gap. We'll see what he can do, because he was fast there towards the end of that run.
So Corey, I'm looking at some of the chat from our audience here, and some potential news on why Massey was so many laps down is a possible scoring error through the simulation.
Wow. Well,
so according to one of our audience members here tonight, possible scoring issue that registered him as out of the race when he was sitting in about second place.
Well, that's something that I have yet to hear before. So, well, terribly unfortunate. Luckily for Massey, he's a fast enough driver, and I do know that they have been given some free passes to drivers, and with, you know, with points, just given, you know, the real world situation, how difficult it is with, you know, what we're dealing with in the world these days. So he should be fine. Obviously, not what you want either way, but we are getting ready for the restart on lap number 140, and that is going to be Tate Lytle getting a humongous jump. Joe Francis may have been in bed there on that restart, as he's already almost a half second behind.
And he is. He hangs on to that second position, and don't look now. Here comes the modified, the number 12, Damien Leininger, trying to fight for that third position down low.
And look who's right behind him.
Oh, the other modified.
Yeah, Scott Crump. I mean, what are these guys going to be able to do? We saw it in this earlier in the race, these modified cars able to stay up front, you know, for a couple laps, but eventually, you know, the damage does kind of cave in and, you know, come to fruition and hold them back. But, you know, sometimes they can hang on for these short bursts. But, you know, Brandon, we do have just under 60 laps to go, and, you know, at Bristol, 60 laps of action is really only about 15 minutes of racing, so not a lot of time. These guys got to get up on the wheel, gain these spots, and if you're Joe Francis, you can't really go too heavy into tire saving mode. You got to stay on his bumper and try to make something happen, as nearly some contact with the 12 and the 4.
Yeah, I was a close call back there. I noticed Francis is kind of trying to close in on your leader as he's just over 0.2 of a second back. So Damien Leininger able to hang on to that third spot for right now as the Ford machine fell back from his back bumper.
As he did. We'll say that Lytle is not enjoying too big of a lead right now. It is only about 2 car lengths as we do close in on 50 laps to go in the race. Still have less than 10 drivers on the lead lap, Kyle Lowry being the last one, and with that heavy damage, he's not going to be on the lead lap for much longer. He's already 2/3 of a lap down as we do have another caution flag, and it's going to be Dylan Hickey of the 15 round on the back straightaway.
So caution on the speedway once again. Dylan Hickey, as you said, facing the wrong way in traffic. It'll look like the 86, they were 3 wide back there for position. And the 86 kind of nowhere to go. The 84 was a little bit off pace there down at the bottom. Crumpet to the outside wall, and SN Hickey straight to the inside of the racetrack.
Yeah, essentially it was a forced 3 wide there with the lapper. And, 3 wide at Bristol in any regard is never going to be an advantageous situation. Trying to see if I believe Kyle Hanshaw should get the free pass. Oh, nope, it's actually going to go to Chris Wright. Chris Wright will get the free pass. Let's see, we'll get sent around the speedway and be our 10th driver on the lead lap.
And I would like to point out, it looks like officials have made the decision to change restarts to single file, according to race control notes.
Yeah, and that is something that's been made an option primarily for the dirt side of iRacing, but it is a feature that can be encompassed by any form of racing that they so choose, where you can do it, X amount of restarts turns into single file. If double file's not working out, you can do 3 cautions and go to single, or you can just kind of do it per restart and admin it manually, which we've been chosen to do. So that'll spread them out a little bit more, maybe get us a cleaner run to the end, or so we can hope.
Yeah, I think it'll just prevent these guys from, trying to fight each other too hard for that top side of the racetrack. So all of these guys will be playing follow the leader of the 56, who will be restarting, I'm sure, at the top of the racetrack right against that outside wall. So single file restart, something we don't see on the NASCAR side of things too often. But of course, race officials for the series making that executive decision. And, especially here at Bristol, may not be a bad thing.
Still waiting for a response on our trivia question. Maybe y'all youngins are just not old enough to remember their dates. But Jeff Gordon and Rusty Wallace had a couple bump and run finishes, with Gordon finishing ahead of Rusty. Happened on 2 occurrences. What years did those happen so far? Brandon, you should know at least one of them. I talk about it all the time, and I ad-lib the commentary call on it all the time.
I do. I know at least. I know one of them.
All
I'm
right,
not going to say it.
We'll say it because we haven't had any guesses yet. You can name one of them.
I don't name it yet. You just went over the trivia question again.
All right, so we'll give about 10 more laps, and we'll see. I know Rusty didn't get off of 2 at all that time. That was one of them. But yeah, Rusty Wallace and Gordon, that was a good feud there back in the era that this kind of stuff happened. That's part of what I miss about Bristol now, Brandon, is we don't have that. I think with this new track configuration, we don't have that rivalry that we used to have. We don't have the helmet throwing and the getting on the track with the middle fingers and throwing stuff. It doesn't really happen anymore. But I think it might be happening in the virtual world with some of these guys tonight. But we'll see. We're all packed up against the fence, getting ready for a single file restart here on lap number 51 coming 151 coming to 52. Look at the jump Tate Lytle got. Green flag in the air.
Green flag in the air once again on the 56. Another really good restart there. Joe Francis going to have to play catch up once again. Damien Leininger still hanging on there in the 4th position.
Yeah, Leininger is holding on as best he can for the moment, and we'll see if he's able to, with that damage, close in on Francis. We know Francis is a very fast driver and may have a shot at the lead, and Leininger, I think he does as well if his car is going to allow him to do so. But look at Brandon. Look at that restart did. to separate the field out. Everyone pretty much has, 2-3 car lengths in between them.
And that was exactly the goal by race officials, Corey, and spread the field out just a little bit. That we want to get laps in. We don't want this to be caution after caution, and eventually these guys will catch back up to each other well before the end of this race is over. But it was just to log laps and to get a little bit more racing in. So good call by league race officials.
We did get 2 correct answers in our trivia question. 1997 Food City 500, bump and run on the last corner of the last lap. 2002 Sharpie 500 was about 2.5 laps to go. Gave him the old bumper in turns number 3 and 4, and that race, classic race, actually is going to be aired on the NASCAR's YouTube. I am very excited for that. They're airing all those classic races on YouTube later in the week. But yes, virtual prizes to each of our audience members on that. Talk to Kyle, see if he'll give you a real one. But we do have, we're basically within 40 laps, Brandon, of the finish of this race. Worth noting that the top 6 drivers are on slightly older tires. Scott Crump in the 51 does have 10-lap fresher tires than everybody up front. But I think that damage is going to overcome any tire advantage he may have.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is an unfortunate break for the 51 team and, of course, the 12 team. The amount of damage that they have in the race car is really putting them at a serious disadvantage.
Dylan Hickey in 8th now. Chris Wright in 9th. And another one I want to give a shout-out to, perseverance at its finest, Brandon, Kyle Lowry. He was in the mid-teens, and he has managed to hang on to the top 10. I don't know if he can stay there. He is the last driver on the lead lap now. But again, that's just perseverance and is hanging in there with a damaged car. Sometimes you can sneak a top 10 out of the deal.
Absolutely. And, again, perseverance, and Lowry is sitting in that 10th position, as you just mentioned. So perseverance is key, especially in these short track races. So, can't let the stuff get to your head too much, because you got to focus on the big picture, and that's the points championship.
I'll go through drivers we haven't really brought up today and talked about. Brandon Key in the 53 machine. He's running 2 laps down. You can see the damage he's been through to run in the 17th spot. Drivers we haven't talked too much about tonight. Johnny Parham, I think we were on board with him a little bit earlier. In the 91, he is in the 24th position. I think we've pretty much covered most everybody else. Kyle Hanshaw, he is in the 11th position. Patrick Gaspar. I think we've covered a good majority of the field so far. We do try to give light to as many drivers as we can, even if they're not running up front, letting you know how their day is going. Give them some focus in the limelight. But we do have up front a battle perhaps in the making. But if I'm being perfectly honest, Brandon, I do think Joe Francis is kind of biding his time. Just a little bit, just trying to hang back, save his tires, maybe 20-25 laps to go, give that final charge.
Yeah, you don't want to try to charge up too early and risk heating up your tires, or just flat out wearing out your tires too quickly. We know how sensitive this right front can be, especially on these Class B vehicles, as they're referred to in iRacing, these Xfinity vehicles. A lot more horsepower over these things than a lot of the other guys, and these guys carry a lot of speed, especially over these high banks on the concrete.
Yes, we do. Yes, they do. And these, Xfinity machines are arguably the toughest of the top 3 NASCAR vehicles to drive these days, with the Cup cars being so, I'll say dumbed down with the lack of horsepower and the heavy downforce package. The trucks just being so, an aerodynamic monstrosity, essentially. So these Xfinity machines kind of are the most difficult and most powerful vehicles to drive, ironically enough. As we do close in on 30 laps to go, you are watching the Ohio Intra Express 200 here for the ERSCA PristineAuction.com series on SimTV. It's Corey Silva and Brandon Kreutz giving you the calls here. We've had an action-packed race with a bunch of cautions to boot, to be exact on that, as we do pull up the fancy ticker here. And beautiful ticker. 7 cautions here tonight in the race. And we have had 9 lead changes. Predominantly those have been during pit stop cycles. And your fastest lap of the race actually does go to Zishandura in the number 10 machine. Fastest lap at a 15.16.
So these guys still trying to battle pretty much all over the racetrack. A lot of these guys are spread out. And again, Joe Francis, he is starting to gain a little bit of ground, I do believe, on your leader, Tate Lytle, but biding its time right now as we come to about 16 to go this time around, as these guys through 3 and 4 will be 16 laps to go this time across the line. And
add a 1
Francis
to that,
right up
26.
26, sorry about that. Math is hard. So 26 laps to go, and I do expect maybe within the last 15 laps or so, I think Francis is going to try to get to the back bumper and just kind of hang out until the last 15 laps or so, I'd say, Corey.
So 15.6 last time by for Lytle, and we'll see what Francis, a 15.82, so actually a little bit faster last time by. Lytle actually about half a tenth faster. Again, at Bristol, doesn't really show up too much visually because it looks very similar, but still just a tick on the stopwatch faster so far. Has your leader of Lytle been, could be a little bit of dirty air, could be the 50 saving it, and you can see the 56 just scraping the right side down essentially through the entire corner. Almost hit it again on corner exit there.
Their lead is coming up to a little bit more lap traffic. That's Robert Hill Jr. going another lap down here, and so those guys go by him with ease. Is coming up to Cody McCourt. We've seen him up front a little bit, but obviously unfortunate break for him, suffering damage late in this race. Will put him out of contention as well.
Last time by, actually Francis just running a little bit faster as in from our starter kin. You can just kind of see, as Brandon called, the conveyor belt here at Bristol. Just only a very small break in action here, just about maybe a second intermittent here and there. But here comes Francis with a look to the inside in corner number 1 and 2. He's going to try it just to see what's there. I think maybe just testing the waters out of what that groove is going to offer him at this point in the race. And there's more sparks flying for the 56. Francis trying to keep that right side nice and clean just to make sure that he has the best car possible when he does make his power move.
Yeah, the biggest thing, you got to keep those tires cool. You can't wear them out too quick if you want to have anything left, because I have a feeling this pass is going to have to be at the bottom of the racetrack, and it's not going to be easy to make that pass. It's going to have to be probably a slide job type move for the race-winning pass if you're going to make one.
This is what he has to do. He has to be right to the back bumper, or he has to ideally have a quarter panel to the inside, or we have 6 cars ahead of them that are going to be lap down vehicles. Now, are they going to cooperate nice and easily? Are they going to remain in their positions to try to fight for their positions? Because as we said, take a pick. Oh, caution will interrupt all of this. Caution on the speedway. We do have somebody.
Around goes your leaders, by the way, as the caution flag already came out. Yeah, there was a lot that just happened there.
Yeah, we'll have to get some feedback from you, Brandon, as to what primarily to look at there. At least I want to see what happened to your leaders that you first of all mentioned. We are on the replay.
Looked like Corey caution came out, and the 56 checked up, and the 50 didn't, as they were trying to avoid the wreck in front of them, with Patton in the 3 and sitting in the middle of the racetrack.
Yeah, we'll take a look here. I did see Zach Patton, like I said, going around.
Patton, Kenny Lowry, Chris Wright all going around. And then your leaders getting collected in that as they were trying to avoid.
Zach Patton into the wall, put the 69 down the tracks. 69 goes and takes the 22 out. And then I think the checkup happened, which, while the leaders were in such close proximity, that sent them around. But here we do have Tate Lytle on pit lane. We do have Vincent Isabella in the 4 staying on the racetrack. We have Damon Leininger in the pits, Vincent Isabella on the racetrack, Scott Crump on the racetrack, Joe Francis comes into the pits, lead lap cars, Patrick Gaspar into the pits, Chris Wright into the pits, Kyle Lowry into the pits, and Zishan Dura into the pits. So it is going to be 2 drivers, at least as of now. We'll see if they choose to relinquish these positions. But Isabella and Crump 1 and 2 are going to probably go green right around 10 laps to go, Brandon. I know we have, I want to say at least one. I know it's at least one attempt at a green-white checker.
Yep, so we will get an attempt at a green-white checker finish, and these guys going to continue under a single-file restart for this upcoming restart.
Yeah, I'm gonna confirm here, but I know it's actually 2 attempts. Just pulled up the rule book just to confirm 2 attempts possible at a green-white checker finish, which we may very well need because, well, we have seen a couple things, Brandon, worth noting. Guys who have stayed out on older tires, there really hasn't been a ton of wheel spin that we've seen in years past here at Bristol Motor Speedway. So there is a chance that maybe they can get off the line pretty well, but even if they get off the line, Brandon, they have to turn, and their turning abilities on these 40 lap old tires compared to a fresh set of stickers, I'm gonna take the stickers.
Yeah, I agree. Can I just point out who's sitting in second right now?
Yeah, Mr. Scott Crump. Again, we talked about it earlier with, I want to say it was Kyle Lowry. Perseverance, a driver who first 50 laps, he could have rage quit. He had 2 incidents essentially within the first 30 laps, gotten 2 big ones. He could have just said, you know what, forget it, we'll just move on to next week. He stayed in it. He said, all right, it's Bristol. I can deal with the damaged car to a degree. Now, is he going to stay in second? Probably not, but we'll see what happens because the pace car is in. 4 is on the gas pedal. Green flag is in the air. Single file restart coming to 11 laps to go.
Already on 10 laps to go this time by. And your second placement of Crump has got company on the low side. Here comes Lytle. Close racing down at a corner number 3.
Here we come, and Lytle will take that second position, and Crump will try to stay on the outside as best he can. Leininger is going to send it on in there to the inside. 2 cars with no front ends. They're going to hold up Joe Francis, which is pretty much going to seal the deal for Tate Lytle, as he will come to the inside and take the lead with very little contesting there. Just does not have the tires to do so, does the 4. Here comes Francis in the 50 to the inside, is doing the best he can. But I don't think he's a short run driver, Brandon. I just don't think he can get by on these short runs. But another caution's flown.
Caution flag is in
Jake
the air
Finch.
once again.
Jake Finch around. Remember Jake Finch from earlier? He had a good run. He had he was leading the race with a really good ride, and everything has gone sour ever since then. We'll take a look at what happened to him. Our SimTV chopper cam.
Couldn't tell. Maybe a little bit of contact there.
With the 9 machine
connectivity
of,
issues.
Brian Dorsey there. Spun him around, no real damage. I do like, Brandon, that you actually, when I say connectivity, for some reason, whenever I say it in commentary voice, I always say connectivity.
I do the same thing. I don't know why.
I know. I say, connectivity, but whenever I commentate, it's con, and you actually mimic that. So I don't know if it's a compliment or an insult, but I'll take it.
It's something that I do in my commentary voice as well, apparently. Because that was out of habit.
Can you tell we've worked together for more than 3 races?
Since 2017, I believe.
Yep, beginning of 2017. But let's just kind of reset, Brandon. We have Tate Lytle, who in this second half of the race has been the fastest driver. We have Damian Leininger, who we know is a fast driver, slightly handicapped in the mechanical department. He is in second. And then we have Vincent Isabella and Joe Francis, 3rd and 4th. Isabella's still on those old tires. Joe Francis is on new tires. He's going to be behind Leininger, though, so it's going to be dependent on what kind of run Leininger gets off the restart to dictate what what Francis is going to be able to do. But either way, Lytle, if he can get off the line, especially if we're single file, essentially it's his.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Lytle, of course, with the cleanest of race cars up at the front right now. The 12 machine right behind him. Vincent Isabella looking pretty good, but of course he's on older tires. Joe Francis, if he can get a good restart here, he could have a shot at it. So it all depends on how this restart goes down. They are going to be single file, so it does make it that much harder.
Yes, it does, and it looks like we are going to technically stretch this into overtime. If we are on 3 laps to go and the lights are still on, so it would go green with 1 to go. Naturally, we're going to have to add 1 to go to 2 to go, so this will count as the first overtime attempt. Remember, we do have 2. So this will be the first attempt, and again, if the leader is able to get to the white flag under green flag conditions, the next flag will end the race, and in simulated world, the next flag is guaranteed to be the checkered flag. We do not have cautions on the white flag lap, so we'll get them racked up against the fence brand in single file, and we'll see what we can do here on the first green-white-checker attempt.
Yeah, so the field is stacked up and ready to go down the back straightaway. Pace car going to be making its way down to the safety of pit road, this time by off of corner number 4. Potentially the last restart of the night. Tate Lytle going to be taking the field to the green flag this time around at a corner number 4. And the 56 is on the throttle. Green flag is back in the air.
Green flag in the air, and Lytle does have a significant jump. Again, these single file restarts work to the leader's advantage. Joe Francis is trying to get by the 4 of Isabella. I think he will be able to do so on those ancient tires as we do come to the white flag.
White flag in the air for Tate Lytle. We've seen him up front all the night long, and he's kept his nose clean out of everybody else in the field, and he's had a fast race car under him all night. Now down at a corner number 4, he's going to be your race winner here at Bristol Motor Speedway, Tate Lytle.
Tate Lytle gets the win. Damian Leininger in that modified of a number 12 machine hangs on for 2nd. Isabella 3rd. Joe Francis fell back to the 7th position. I think he got really loose there on the apron, trying to go for 2nd, and obviously did not work out. So, a caution-ridden race, Brandon, but overall, I think it was a pretty clean race given the fact that it is Bristol, even though we did have a lot of cautions. But all in all, a great show, and Lytle parks it in victory lane, I think for the 2nd time this season, if memory serves.
Yep,
oh, the first time this season, excuse me, the first time this season.
Yep, it's first time this season, and he's going to burn it down here right on the start-finish line here at Bristol as a well-deserved victory for the 56 team.
Yes, it is. So we will go over your final results here tonight from the Bristol Motor Speedway, and then we will go into the post-race show in just a matter of moments. Let's just let you know where your favorite drivers may have finished in tonight's race. Your results, as I do find for the results page here. There they are. The results page here to Tate Lytle leading the way and taking the checkered flag. Damian Leininger in 2nd, Vincent Isabella in 3rd, Scott Crump, Patrick Gaspar, Zishan Dura, an event-ridden race in 6th. Joe Francis was going for the win. Probably had a chance at it if it did stay green, but obviously it didn't. Fell back to 7th. Dylan Hickey, Kyle Lowry, and Chris Wright. So the results will pass by on the screen. We'll let them all go by. Here is 11th through 20th. Kyle Hanshaw, Dylan Thomas, Will Cannon, Johnny Thomas, league admin in a 14th spot. Cody McCorkle found himself up front a couple times in, sequence of events. Fell back to the 15th spot. And here we are with the remainder of your field here tonight. Some of these drivers did not take to the grid tonight. 29 drivers attempted time here tonight. So that is who that is your grid. We are going to take a brief moment here and prep for the post-race show, so please stay with us. We'll talk to your top 3 finishers. And we're back here on SimTV for the post-race show. We do have our top three finishers. Vincent Isabella, third place, and Brandon Kreutz has caught up with him.
Yeah, down here on pit road right now, Vincent Isabella. And Vincent, we saw that you had a fast race car all night. How you feeling after your podium performance here?
Oh, awesome. I am so above the moon. We killed it this week. A third and an eighth from High Desert. It's awesome.
Well, you kept your nose clean all night, and tell us how it was battling through traffic here tonight on the high banks.
Yeah, for the most part, people were pretty clean and, giving us the top. There was a couple instances where I thought we were all going to die, but we made it through, and I love this track.
Awesome track indeed, and Vincent, you come home with a podium finish here on the night. Is there anybody that you'd like to thank or give a shout out to for your performance tonight?
My teammate and owner, Dylan Hickey. Another good run for him. We're both looking to be in the top 10 and in the championship fight here.
Awesome job tonight, and congratulations on your podium finish here at Bristol. We know it was not an easy task trying to battle through traffic, and again, thanks for talking with us.
Thank you. Talk to you guys later.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was your third place finisher, Vincent Isabella. I do believe Corey is caught up with second place finisher, Damian Leininger.
All right, Damien, you got a copy with us, man?
10-4.
All right, man. So it's been you started on the front row, you finished second, calamity-ridden race. Obviously, the front end of your car has seen better days, but you still persevered to finish on the outside of, the middle of the podium, rather, second. Talk about how that car drove with the damage it had.
How do I say this? It was tighter, but it still had a lot of speed in it. Obviously, once I got up to the front with Tate and stuff, I didn't have the speed I once did. I think I could have had something for him at the end if I had a little bit healthier of a car, but I knew I couldn't get all the damage fixed I had to on this to get the speed back in it, but it was still fun. I think I drove from 20th back up to second, so...
Yeah, you did a good job with that, and we head from one difficult track to the next, not in terms of difficulty, but in terms of just survival, really. We head to the high banks of Talladega next week. We know how those race in the Xfinity machines. Any thoughts about what's headed to your way next week?
Oh, I didn't even know we were going to Talladega next week.
Sorry for the bad news or the good news, I guess.
No. I always like the super speedways. I mean, I don't know if you guys, because I don't think you guys were the ones broadcasting. I think Kyle and them were. But I ran really strong at Daytona. I was up front for a while. If you get back in the pack, these cars do get really squirrely. But I always enjoy the super speedway races. They're survival, but they're fun if you know how to manipulate the draft in them.
Yeah, so we'll see what luck presents you next week, brother. Try to see if you can do one better and get it to the top of the podium and stay in one piece. Anyone you want to give a shout out to for tonight's efforts?
Hopefully I can. I went from third to second, so hopefully I go from second first this next week. But I want to thank Puck Pass for coming on board. They're a great sponsor. They've been really supportive of this. Them getting into racing and me not knowing as much about hockey lately. Got to thank you guys for broadcasting this, and ERSCA, Johnny, everybody that puts this thing on. I mean, this league is so fun to run. The people are very respectful and everything. It just gives you a nice, clean place to race. I know that might not look like it tonight after all the calamity that went around, but it was really fun, and I got to thank my dad. I mean, I know he's out there watching too, so just thank everybody.
All right, 10-4, brother. Thanks for that, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Thanks. Sounds good.
Now, Brandon has caught up with tonight's winner, Tate Lytle.
Yeah, down here in Victory Lane now. He's out of the race car. Tate Lytle, your race winner on the night here at Bristol. Tate, how you feeling?
Pretty good, man. Just waiting for something else to put me in second.
You got it done here on the nights, and you kept your nose clean all night, and I think that was the key. But you put yourself in the right position on the right time. Just go through that race with us a little bit.
It was kind of a cluster the first 60 laps. Me and Damien had contact on like lap 30 and kind of jumbled the whole field together, and luckily we were able to both come back from it. But we had a couple good green flag runs. I think me and Joe lapped up to like 9th place at one point, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And, to tell us what it was, especially the lap traffic there towards the end of the thing, it was getting pretty thick. Tell us how it was to try to navigate through that and keep Francis behind you.
I knew I was a little bit faster than him on clean track, so I knew if I could just keep him from getting to the outside of me, I was going to be okay. But it was definitely not an easy task because I'd pull 3 or 4 tenths on him and then I'd catch somebody and he'd be right on my bumper again. But cautions kind of fell at the right time and able to hold him off.
Absolutely, and obviously a strong performance here for you and the team tonight. Is there anybody that you'd like to thank or give a shout out to tonight?
Yeah, you guys, Johnny and Brent Wentz with Days Gone By, and the whole team. Thanks to you guys as well.
And thank you, and congratulations on your win here tonight. And again, thanks for talking with us. Ladies and gentlemen, your race winner of the night here at Bristol, Zay Lytle.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so that is our post-race show here tonight. Talk to the top 3 finishers. We will put the results on the screen for the final time here tonight. Again, I want to give congrats to everybody who had a good finish. And again, just, great job to the drivers overall. Bristol's a very difficult track. We did have some cautions, Brandon, of course. We had some carnage, of course. But all in all, we saw a good amount of green flag racing. And I think these guys can be proud about the race they put on tonight.
Yeah, absolutely they can. And, we saw a good mix of things happen all throughout this race. Obviously, we saw the cautions that we were expecting, but it took us by surprise. We saw a good amount of green flag laps being turns here on the nights, and these guys putting on good battles all throughout this field.
They did. And again, Corey Silva and Brandon Kreutz here tonight, giving you the calls here on Sim TV. Happy to bring you the results, and I'll bring you the race here tonight. And we'll be with you guys next week at the Talladega Super Speedway, taking a week off. In the month of April, we head to Dover and Chicagoland. That's on tap for us in the immediate future, so you want to stay tuned to Monday nights with us. And of course, make sure you do like and subscribe to the channel. And check out all the good content Kyle and Finian have going on. I know they have some big signings and big leagues coming up, big events coming up that they can't quite talk about yet, but you won't want to miss them. So, follow all the social media and stay tuned for that. But it's Corey Silva and Brandon Kreutz sounding out of the booth. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.
Have a great night. We'll catch you next time. Good night and good racing.